Hello everyone, it is Mike Levin on Sunday, September 19th, 2021. I like to get the date in at the beginning of these things because, I talk about how there's really only three orders for things. There is the chronological or sequential actual order in which things happened, the one true order in existence and reality. And then there is an organized order, hierarchical, what have you, otherwise taking the sequential order and imposing greater meaning and presumably usefulness by turning it into some sort of directory or lookup table or, ontology or otherwise useful shape so that the information that came in sequentially becomes more useful. And then, believe it or not, there's actually a third one, which is what exists in your mind almost instantaneously with fast recall. And you have to go through the first two kinds to get to the third kind. In my industry of search engine optimization, it's really obvious. Data and information is being pushed out onto the internet, the web, the ether, constantly. And it's, of course, going out in a sequential, linear fashion. There's concurrency to it because there's a lot of people publishing. However, it's all, if you put a timestamp on every event, it would all lay out on a single line. And then, because to be useful, it's got to be organized, there are constant ongoing attempts to shape that data on the internet or the web to be more useful, appealing to visitors. Enter the whole field of user interaction, user experience. And so there's a lot of attention paid to that middle kind of order in which things can be arranged, organized. And then there's the third one, which in my field of search engine optimization is, incredibly clear. There is putting it all to use in that one moment of when you're like, where is that information? And poof, it appears. In other words, the search. And Google, back in the day, kicked Yahoo's butt over the human-edited directory of Yahoo with a big focus on organization and adding meaning, particularly by humans, putting things places. And the more helter-skelter, throw it all into a big bucket, apply mathematical processes and algorithms to the data so that the magic lookup moment appears quickly. So they almost go from that linear sequential order, which they suck in all with the Google bot crawl, with a web crawl, where Google's automated systems go out and follow links from page to page and pull back everything that there is known about the internet. Again, that's kind of, linear sequential, the first kind of order. And then they jump right to that last kind of order, instant recall, what's at the tip of your tongue, without that whole organized thing in the middle. Now, in reality, there is that organized thing in the middle, PageRank and such, but it's all hidden from you. You don't see it. It's not exposed by Google. There have been experiments at exposing that order through things like Clusty. I remember search engines in the past that tried to show you that hierarchical arrangement of the web. None of them really stuck, which is extremely insightful. Automated systems to superimpose that order have failed time and time again. And the human edited ones, where people take time and thought and, tell the story, are the ones that succeed. The Farmer's Almanac and all that, where, a human hand comes in and says, here's the big picture, but here's the big picture funneled through the hand and the eye of an artist, right? Machine learning, artificial intelligence, will change that in time, and the organized presentation of data at these large scales like Google works at will come into place. it'll be the process of seeing computers become artistic. You'll see it in lots of other ways as, machine learning, artificial intelligence gets more sophisticated, but, one of the ways is that they'll be able to draw infograms. What are those things in memes? I guess infographics. They'll be able to draw infographics that are just as good as the infographics that humans draw. And then you'll have to worry. But let's see, where was I going with this? Those three order of things. That was a whole tangent. I started out wanting to talk about something else entirely, and I'm just on a quick trip, so I'll have to wrap it up. So I started with that point because it was necessary for the one that I was building upon. I said there's the three orders of things, I'm capturing it in this order. I don't edit. I'm not an editor. I'm not like these other YouTubers. I'm not like other girls, but I'm not like other, there's plenty of other people like me out there doing this. I'm not doing anything unique. In fact, the live streaming is a lot more like what I do, even though I record it because I do it in the car and such and push it out, because people are willing to sit there and, listen. The enticement is larger when it's live. I got to say, this style broadcasting is more appealing when live because you're hearing it when it happens. I should probably even experiment with doing that on the phone here while I'm driving, because with 5G, maybe, why not, right? It seems like something that could be possible. It would advertise it on YouTube as if it were a live stream, and then if there were problems in the recording and capture and pushing it up, it would just be delays on the other end, and maybe not even that, because there is some sort of built-in delay, which is probably plenty for driving along with a 5G connection without a lot of dead air spots, the bars going to zero. So maybe that's in my future. Now, I'm not trying to break out and to make it big on YouTube. As I point out frequently, I do this mostly for myself, not you, the YouTube audience, although it is fun. It's fun having the interactivity with all you out there. But this is a method of thinking out loud to myself. The best way to learn a thing is to teach it. And so this is an opportunity for me to sort of go teaching it. And it's time for me, for example, to get up to, let's call it Linux containers. There's a lot of terminology for it, but I have used virtualization and emulation over the years. I made that whole hour video just before, and it has repeatedly proven itself to be really just not worth it for me. I'm not in the kind of job where that becomes a power tool or even a regular daily tool. It would have and could have been nice, but really when I have to start with a fresh system, it's so easy to reinstantiate a cloud Linux server, or maybe do something local in Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL, and use other types of virtualization there that's more specific to your application, like virtual ENVs or VENV in Python. So Python makes fairly heavy use of, the word virtual is such a bad word for this kind of stuff. It's just isolating dependencies so you don't pollute systems. So I've been, fighting against system pollution for years, but virtualization and emulation in recent years has not enticed me as big as it's become in the industry. But now that it's been formalized under Linux, and when I developed the muscle memory of doing it and slamming out different, containers for this use and that, for dependency isolation, the same way I have been using virtual ENV and VENV under Python, then it'll be really nice. It's worth doing. In fact, Python went through that same evolution. You had to install virtual ENV, pip install virtual VNV to get that basic, daily necessary feature, which I hate that. I hate having to go to outside the standard library for that kind of stuff. So they added VENV in Python, and poof, there's no question I'm using it all the time now, and it's become second nature to me. So things like developing Pipulate and other software for the Python packaging index, PyPy, has become much easier because you can have one instance of your application here in a directory and another instance of it here under, whatever that is, for pip, system setup or something. There's some directories that stuff gets dropped into using the pip install and underlying wheel system. That is just creates all kinds of path nightmares when you have that same software right over here for development work. So it's really necessary to use a technology like this for path wrangling, to know where your code's being run from when you're developing and deploying and all that. So VENV has been promoted in my mind as this first thing you grab, a tool that will be with you forever now as part of standard Python. And so too it has gone with Linux containers with the LXD system. However, I'm going to be getting the advantage of it through a web user interface. I'm basically just repeating the last video. So the two orders for things, how is it tied back? Yes, so fortunes are made usually by doing that middle type of organization of data, and then that third type, making it available to people out there instantly. The stuff I like doing, this linear sequential capture, because it's a byproduct of me thinking out loud, is generally of no great value to people out there in the world. However, it's the only way I'm going to YouTube it, and I will rely on things like machine learning and maybe other people if I make it big, who knows, human edited stuff, but probably machine learning and AI to edit all my past videos into something worthwhile, but it'll mostly be of historic value by then because the action is playing out right now. And what is the action? What is it that I consider as of most value right now when I'm like 50 years old and I've been, surveying the landscape, when I've been, in the algorithms of there's explore, exploit. Sounds like bad words, but explore, of course, is trying things, going from thing to thing, and exploit is the bad word. It's like take advantage of. Well, it's to get the benefit of the work you did. I feel like I want to switch from explore to exploit, but that would imply that I go doing some entrepreneurial thing, Hittail 2.0, or some other endeavor to, not do my 9-to-5 job. I like it's not 9 to 5, it's always in now with lockdown and stuff. It's the big integrated life. It's that thing that compartmentalizers really objected to. Boy, are they having a rude awakening, where work, life, and all that stuff is all the same thing. Now, compartmentalization will gradually set back in as lockdown and quarantine loosens up, but the world has had a great lesson in what I believe to be a good way of being. Now, different strokes for different folks, but everything is just one integrated thing for me. It's bringing together, what you love, what you're good at, what you have a passion for, and what the world needs into that center thing. There's a Japanese word for this. I'll make a specialized video on that coming soon. But I've been seeking that for many years, and I have passed over many opportunities to, quote, make it big, because with those little moments of prescience, future sight that flash into your head, I would hate myself. I would hate my life. I do not want to be on the hook. There is no sure method of control of one human over another than setting someone on a schedule. But when you control someone else's schedule and there's lots of dependencies on you as a person, you are no longer your own person. You are a function of the thing you've created. This happens to all kinds of people. And these giant tycoons that so many people hold up as heroes and covet, I would not trade, my life with theirs for all the money in the world, which is the amount of money these people have, because all eyes are on them. They can't have a freewheeling life where they do what they want when they want. they're always on the hook, and they either have to stay out of the public eye and be very private individuals, which is one form of prisonership, or they are bold about it and they go out and they have to be this character of themselves, the way, X-Files stopped being interesting because every episode was too self-referential about the, uniqueness of what they created. And that's what's happening to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, the people who are out there in the public, Bill Gates. They are characters of themselves and not fully free individuals. And when they try to be free individuals, they get into trouble. So, anywho, my next step, the things I'm plotting out here in my life, are how to do very low-key exploit without having to pop my head up, without having to be an excessively public character, and to just have financial, security for myself and my family for long into the future, and to truly bring together these, what I love doing, which is talking. I love talking to you on YouTube. It doesn't matter, I do it for myself, but I love talking. So this is part of my, what I love to do. I'm getting paid for it. Well, there's a little bit of chump change that comes in from YouTube. However, it helps me process my thoughts for my 9-to-5 job, which really does get me paid. So without these videos, I wouldn't be, navigating as productive of a path through life, as fruitful and lucrative of a path through life. I made the transition from SEO to data science and all that. So, what you can get paid for and what the world needs, a better understanding of how data and information plays a role in it in our lives, how you can live a better life by virtue of understanding the information around you and the information inside you. That's what the world needs. We're not a material world so much as we are an information world. Our soul, such as it were, if such a thing exists, is of a information nature more so than of a material nature, because most of the matter in our body gets replaced every 7 to 10 years. So the question of who you are is a different question than maybe what you think. There's not some soul tied to the atoms inside your body. There's something maybe perhaps like a soul tied to the state that your body's in, and all the information that led up to being in that state, and a probability projecting out in the future. Your soul is something like the decider, the human free will on a read-write needle head that's running forward through time, a Turing engine and stuff. Anyhow, you gotta finish that out. What you love, what you make money for, what the world needs, and what you're good at. Well, there's always people better than me at this stuff. So what I'm good at is, perhaps bringing it down to the average person, because, I like to think in Python like the way people think of thinking in a spoken language. So perhaps what I'm good at is helping. Got to separate these four circles, the Venn diagram. What I'm good at, expressing myself. I'm proving perhaps right now that I'm not. Talking to myself, free flowing. This thing that I do here. This is really what I'm good at. And when programming languages like Python come into the picture, you're in a similar mode but in coding, and you can solve problems quicker. So I think I'm better at, tackling a problem, backing up, changing a little bit, tackling it again, and sticking with it over the long haul. Being 50 years old as I am, still, being in the biz of being the carpenter versus the walrus. Other videos have covered that, but I love the craft. I love, having your hands in the mix and doing it. So if I wasn't good at it, and capable of doing things that other people weren't, and that other people find difficult, I wouldn't be getting paid for it. So there is a relationship between these things, and there you have it. I'm not sure what the exact point of this video is, but you can see it's a transitional state moving on to where I really want to bring you, which is perhaps, throwing open the door a little bit on my process of getting to this state where Vim is your text editor and you're thinking primarily in Vim control codes and almost telepathic control over text. I'd like to bring people more to that point where your text editing and you're moving bits around gets applied to more than just coding. It can be your journal, your writing. If you're writing a book, it can be for that. And eventually, one day, it'll be just the way you take notes as you're walking along, because the human-machine interfaces will let that occur eventually. And the world is changing rapidly, and a lot of people are going to go obsolete like dinosaurs. And I'm pretty, determined to make sure I'm not one of them, and that my skill set is always interesting, always relevant, always love-worthy, and always say good subject matter for YouTube here. So thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.